It's interesting when we talk about time because everybody was waiting for 2021 for us to jump that timeline, right? Everyone was thinking 2021 was going to be the day that we felt that massive shift. And it was a really powerful day, which was yesterday or the day before, depending upon, well, they're listening to this later, but we actually shifted the timeline kind of the week before. And the reason it's kind of important to talk about time is because when we get attached to a time frame or a time or a date, even as you are preparing for what may come, oh my god, we have to prepare for these things, right? Especially in 2021, because there's going to be a lot of things that are going to be told to us that are going to happen that are not going to happen. Okay. And so if we pay attention to those, this is going to happen, prepare, then we're playing in a timeline that actually doesn't exist anymore. Okay. So we want to be aware of that the human likes to prepare for things. They like to think about what's coming in the future now. And that's an important piece for 2021. So we want to stay as present as possible. This timeline that shifted, I don't know, 14th or 15th, somewhere around there. When my guides gave it to me, all I can tell you is that I've never felt what I felt that moment. So when my guides talk to me, it's energy. And so I absorb the energy in my body as if it's a frequency, and then it turns into a message. It turns into information. So it's not like I hear them talking to me, right? It's more of like I receive something and then it becomes the message is in the energy, the frequency. And so my initial feeling was my whole body started to shake and just get goosebumps, like head to toe. And then the second reaction was bawling. I just started crying massively. And then I received, you guys dodged a bullet. What they meant was the human collective. So all of us that are sort of on the front lines, eyes open, aware of what's happening, trying to educate, trying to remind humans, like, look at this, look at that. We are pulling the entire human collective behind us into these higher timelines. And it can feel sometimes like we're dragging the human collective. But as we are raising the frequency within our bodies, whether we're aware of it or not, we pull the frequency of the collective into a completely new timeline, which allows us new possibilities. And they showed me that, I don't know if you guys have been feeling this sort of like pause, like what's going to happen? What's going to happen? There's kind of like this anticipation of like, so what is going to happen here? Mm-hmm. We jumped into a timeline that is now going to be expedited. So there were two real clear timelines that we were staring at. And I'd been talking about. One of them was like a longer route, a slower route, like the Band-Aid would be pulled off real slow. And the other one was a speedier route. So it's going to be insane. It's going to be like, holy cow, but it's going to be like we are accelerating faster. So do you want the Band-Aid to come off fast, ouch, or do you want it to come off slow and be a lot more painful, right? It's still going to be insane. It's still going to be intense, but it's just an expedited sort of process. So that's what we have jumped into. The piece to really remember, and it's a really positive timeline because what could have happened would have pulled us into experiences that would have kept us in this sort of imprisoned state for longer. Okay. Mm-hmm. So this imprisonment that humanity has been in, we won't go back into it. So that lower timeline would have created experiences where we would have been like, what are we doing? How can we still find ourselves in this experience, in this imprisonment feeling? The new timeline, it's really hard to explain, so that's why I'm taking my time. The new timeline is going to show us what could have been. Okay, I hope this is making sense. It's really hard to explain two timelines, but we've jumped a timeline, so you're still going to see an old timeline play out, Okay. So here's how I want you guys to see this. We're here. This is still going to play out in an illusionary sense until it's dissolved. So when you shift timelines, the other timeline doesn't dissolve right away. There's time-space continuum, which means that it's going to dissolve slowly. So we're here. It's going to go fast. We're going to expedite. We're going to move through all of these. There's not going to be a massive mandate vaccine all around the world, right? There's not going to be as much of a genocide that could have happened from that vaccine or vaccines, right? The things that could have played out here aren't going to play out in the way that they could have because we're here. But we're going to see a narrative down here that's going to try to pull us energetically back down to this lower timeline until we've anchored into this timeline completely and we believe it and see it. Does this make sense?
Actually, it makes perfect sense to me.
Okay. Because we have to recognize that we're here. It's done. It's complete. But because we're in a slower space, there's a continuum that happens. So it's like things take a little bit longer in the 3D. We're still going to watch this stuff down below in this lower timeline. We're still going to watch it play out as if it's real. And this is really, 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 really important. You can't believe it. So you can't believe it. It's like they were showing me like a puppet show. We have to see it as a physical thing playing out, but it's not real. It's almost like it's a joke. Like, are you joking right now? Like we're above this, and yet continue to educate and continue to pull. You imagine that your job, your roles is to pull humanity, the ones that are buying into this lower timeline, pull them up, right? Like and even the awakened ones, they're still going to feel like they're down here, right? So it's like we're going to be required to do this a little bit differently now than we did this past year. We have to pretend like it's like we're not phased anymore. You would be an example of, the front line that really pulled humanity up. I'm not saying that you're better than anyone else, right? But when you get to this place of you don't buy into it, you're not phased anymore, and it's go time, like you're just like, get out of my way. Get out of the way. This is where we're going. That is really powerful and potent, because that frequency that you hold, that knowingness of like, get out of my way, it has a ripple effect on an energetic level. And it assists humans up into that level without you actually realizing that that's what you're doing. So you don't even have to say it out loud. There's an energetic exchange that happens, which is why I was bawling in the car, because I was like, holy shit, every single freaking person, everyone that's listening to this, everyone that's been speaking their truth, everybody that has been standing up, every single person. My whole body's getting goosebumps when I'm saying this right now. Their efforts, their light, their voice, their behavior, all of it made a massive impact, and we were able to pull humanity up. And so now our role is to stay there. Our role is to stay focused on that timeline. Our job is to no longer, it's almost like if they're fleas and you're like, dude, you're just an annoying flea. Like, go.
Sure.
That kind of feeling. I think that Trump has a personality and an ego, and just like all of us. But I 1000% believe that he is perhaps playing one of the most important roles right now for us in this shift. That's not to say that he's a saint. That's not to say that if he doesn't get elected, we're not going to shift. We're shifting no matter what. We're shifting no matter who gets elected. So it's not, people have this notion that like, if you say this about Trump, that means that you are worshiping him, or you think that he's a god, or that everything depends on Trump. Yeah. No, that's not what this is about. This is about consciousness, higher dimensional consciousness, incarnating into a human body, and incarnating into a human body to play out a specific role. Trump incarnated as a higher dimensional consciousness into that human body that you see him in order to play out a specific role. That's what I believe. And that's what I think he's doing. Do I think we have to worship him? No. Do I think that he's the savior? No. Do I think if he doesn't get elected, we're screwed? No. But do I think that he's playing a massive, important role in this shift in consciousness? 1 bazillion% yes. So, I think there's when that video went out, there's a lot of ways in which people took it. And, the word light worker can be very misconstrued. You think that if somebody's a light worker, that means that they have to be love and light all the time. And a light worker is somebody that comes into a human body in order to assist in shifting the human collective. And there's a bazillion ways that you can shift a human collective. You don't have to, be sitting in meditation. Think about what Trump's done so far. I think he's shifted a human collective pretty well, whether we like him or not. He has shifted a human collective. So, people have this notion of like, if you're a light worker, that means that you have to be in, love all the time. And it's like, well, I'm a light worker and I'm not in love all the time. I yell, I argue, I fight, I have ego, I have all the things that Trump has. Does that make me, I've said horrible things to people. Does that make me not a light worker? With chemtrails, I was shown this years ago, maybe 3 years ago when I lived in Mount Shasta, because they chemtrailed the hell out of that mountain.
Oh, yeah.
I've never, have you been up there, Aaron, and seen it?
The first conference I ever went to was in Mount Shasta.
Yeah, and there's chemtrails.
Also.
Yeah, it's like there's so many chemtrails. You're like, dude, this is nuts. I mean, it's just like crisscross, crisscross. So what my guide showed me is that there are higher dimensional light beings that have always been around. I mean, we're higher dimensional light beings. There's nothing spectacular about a higher dimensional light being, but they have been combating or kind of like dismantling on an energetic level the chemtrails for about 3, 4, 5 years, because they've gotten more, I don't want to scare people, but they've gotten real bad, right? Whatever they're spraying is really bad for humanity. Mm-hmm. So they're like, don't worry about the chemtrails. It's not impacting the human any longer. We are dismantling it. And same with the 5G towers. Whatever they're doing on an energetic level, it's literally dissolving the frequencies that are coming out or whatever that is. And again, when I share these messages, I'm always like, oh God, these are the messages I don't really like sharing, because it's hard for people to be like, yeah, right, that's really happening. But, it is happening. And, just sometimes, just as hard as it is sometimes to believe that we're being poisoned, we are actually also being sort of helped at the same time. Mm-hmm. So I've never been nervous about the chemtrails after I received that message, or the 5G towers. Well, if you think just about energy and kind of how energy works, if you're vibrating in a higher frequency, those chemicals that are coming in are in a lower frequency. And so your light literally dissolves it. It does nothing to it. It's kind of like, bring it on. What else do you have? Mm-hmm. And the more we understand that, the more we understand who we are as light and like the power of our light, the more we won't be afraid of what's happening externally, chemtrails, 5G, all of that, vaccines, like all these things that we're afraid of right now. We're only afraid of them, 1, because we're told to be afraid of it. And 2, we're kind of forgetting about the power of our frequency, the power of our light. And that's really another piece of 2021 is starting to remember the power of our light. Like literally the power of our freaking light is crazy. It's really crazy. I mean, you guys, we shifted an entire human collective, and we're continuing to, just on our light, not on our words, not on our actions, on our light within our bodies. Like, that's insane. Well, here's the other crazy thing about thought, the power of thought, the power of the human thought. So the human mind is a blessing and a curse, because your thoughts can cancel out your light. So what I mean is, if you are holding a higher frequency, which we all are holding much higher frequencies every day, but you are still holding limiting beliefs. Okay. So you still believe certain things about yourself, or you believe that you don't deserve, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You're going to your thoughts are so powerful that they're going to pull you into that reality, even though your body is holding a frequency that's like, girl, guy, you can have anything you want. You can create right now. You can manifest and intend whatever you want. You can have abundance. You can have love. Like, that's the frequencies that we're holding now. But the thought, just the same way that the thought can kind of dismantle or dissolve the chemtrail, the thoughts can pull you right back to a version of you that you're not even holding physically on an energetic level in your body. Yeah, the observer, you're observing. And if you can observe, then you can choose. There's so many avenues that the human you can see the vaccine as, and each avenue is really important. But the avenue that I'm most comfortable in is that, listen, your light is more powerful than any vaccine. And if you actually hold that knowingness, it's not going to matter what's going into your body. Now, because I live that way, I'm okay. I will never take the vaccine anyways. But if I had to take the vaccine, I would hold the knowingness that my light is transmuting it. The only way that works is if you have 100% knowingness that that's your truth. And to know that you have 100% knowingness, this is kind of like the test, right? If somebody were to ask you what your name is, you would tell them your name. You know your name 100%. There's no doubt. There's no doubt in your mind. I know this. It is true. It is fact. It is. If you can hold that knowingness when someone injects you with the vaccine, that the vaccine is going to do nothing to you because your light will literally dissolve it, then you could take the vaccine and you would be fine. Most humans aren't capable yet of holding that knowingness. They will, but most of them aren't. So I'm not teaching that right now because the vaccine is really dangerous. I think I deeply believe that it can be dangerous. So I want to educate people on that, but I also don't want to create fear, right? So I don't want to create fear in the vaccines, and the vaccines aren't going to play out the way they're supposed to because we jumped timelines. So that's fabulous. But yes, your light can absolutely dissolve the vaccine. Without a doubt, all of the light that your body's holding right now can literally dissolve anything that goes into your body that is created by the man. I mean, listen, like where we're going in terms of a human collective, like the evolution of our consciousness, the evolution of the human is moving to states of consciousness where we are literally nothing is going to impact us unless we allow it to. Period. So we can choose to allow something to impact us. Okay, I think I'm going to believe that this vaccine is going to impact me, or we choose that it's not going to. That's what we're moving into. I mean, unfortunately, we have to go through it in order to realize that we have that ability. Mm-hmm. Right? So like the evolution of human consciousness kind of sucks because you're like, Jesus, why do we have to learn it this way? Like, or remember it this way? Why can't we just jump and be in it?
Because that's part of the process.
Yeah, we have to be like, oh, you're going to inject me with something horrific and I don't want to take it. So I'm either not going to take it or I'm going to start practicing the fact that I have the intention and knowingness that my light can dissolve it. Or I'm just not going to play in the fear of it. I'm going to take it and I'm going to be completely fine. We have that ability as well, right? Like we have that ability. I think a lot of people, especially in the spiritual community, I think we thought that like we were just going to kind of jump into these higher states and just be chill and like life was going to be awesome. We were just going to be like, yeah, like, oh my God, we made it. And like, woo, and now we're like, oh, this is what we're doing. Got it.
Yeah.
I think the process of ascending, the process of moving through this shift in consciousness, this evolution, we are going to look back at this time. And when I say look back, maybe, let's give it about 5 years, right? But we're going to look back and that's not to scare people, but I'm just, giving us some space. But we're going to look back at this and we're going to be like, oh my God, we freaking nailed it. Like we nailed it. We were amazing. Look at what we did, but we can't see it right now because we're in it. So a lot of us, or especially myself, it's just sort of like you're like, oh my God, what's next? What's next? What's next? Like what's next? In an excitement, but also there's a personal shift that's happening, right? For each person, there's a collective shift that's happening for the human collective. So there's a lot going on that we don't really realize. I don't think we really realize what's happening here. And that individual kind of shift that's happening can feel, like that up and down that you're doing this, all kinds of stuff that happens to us when we clear out our shadow and we do all that work and healing and trauma and, cutting cords. And, while you're also watching the entire human collective shift and all this crap come out from the woodworks, like the Wizard of Oz, and you're like, holy cow, like what the freak have we been living in? You're pulling yourself out of this like mind controlled place, and then you're trying to pull humans out of the mind control. The whole thing is it's insane. I mean, listen, the human collective is ready now to take on what's coming, right? If we didn't have the technology, if we didn't have social media, if we didn't have YouTube, if we wouldn't have been able to wake up as quickly as we did. So it's all such a divine time that it happened, because we had the access and the ability to wake up so much faster than had it been 1940. It wouldn't have happened then. I mean, you think about everything that has been created just in 2020, just in this year, all the ways in which situations have come in order to sort of pull us down or to silence us. And it's done the opposite, right? So it's like anything that's coming at us that is designed to sort of continue to keep us in that sedated state is only perpetuating this massive grand awakening. It's the most beautiful thing ever. We've been programmed to sort of receive knowledge or truth, let's say through the television or through specific news outlets. It's a programmed state, right? So what's happened in 2020, at least for myself, is we are getting sort of our news from sources that many would say are not credible, right? Like, well, that's not a credible source.
Yeah.
Or, well, where's their credible whatever the hell, right? And it's like, none of that matters anymore when you start to detach from the programmed ways in which we've been built to be in.
It's like, well, what makes those institutions credible other than they say they are? That's all it is. When you do your research, you realize it's the exact opposite. Whatever they say, you can almost reverse it, and that's usually the truth.
I remember right in the beginning when COVID was beginning, and my whole kind of world was shattered with this whole Trump thing, and all these things were starting to come out. And I was like, oh my God, are you joking? And I remember getting a lot of my news, no joke. I got a lot of my information from TikTok. And my mom's like, well, where? I swear.
Nice.
Like all this information was coming, and it was like this TikTok, these people were sharing these powerful truths on TikTok. And my mom would be like, well, where are you getting this information? I'm like, this TikTok and this TikTok.
TikTok.
Yeah. But it was real information, because then I would go and look at the YouTube channel, or I'd go and look at that person's whatever, and then it would take me down, how we were, the information highway. But I just found it fascinating that this was the way in which information was being given to us, or the way that we were receiving information, different from how we are programmed with that, the news, the media, the whatever we're supposed to be doing. I haven't really played in that until recently, because I had dark energies coming into my field trying to screw things up. And it's real. It's really real. It's an energetic battle. And it's kind of like, holy shit, this is actually an energetic battle. And when you start to realize that, and you start to see and understand it as from an energetic perspective, that's the most powerful place you can come in every now moment, because your energy, your light is more powerful than anything. And your light and your free will and your choice creates everything. So if you go to a protest and you're holding light and you're holding love and you're holding compassion and you're holding those high frequencies, nothing's coming in. Nothing's getting near you. You'll feel it right away. You'll feel it. If you're going to the protests and you are combative and angry and yelling and in that energy and frequency, then you're susceptible to allowing that same frequency energy, the fear and the chaos and that to kind of come in and be absorbed by you. Then all of a sudden you're holding these energies that aren't really yours, and it's perpetuating that puppetry that we're trying to escape out of. And so really going into 2021, I cannot preface enough, because there's going to be a massive civil war that's perhaps going to break out. And that's actually, that civil war that may happen is the higher timeline. So we have got to be able to hold, and that's a positive timeline, by the way, right? So it's not a bad thing. It's a really good, this is why when we think about good and bad, the high timeline, the positive timeline, doesn't mean there's nothing bad that we're going to experience. It means that it's going to be better than what it could have been in that sense. But it's extremely, extremely, extremely important that in every now moment, in everything you're doing, you remember that this is an energetic experience. This is about energy. And if you hold yourself in high frequency energy as much as possible, in higher states of consciousness as much as you possibly can, with compassion, meaning you get angry, that's okay, but bring yourself back. If you get frustrated, that's okay, bring yourself back. Anxiety, that's okay, bring yourself back. The higher you can stay in these higher states with your energy and your body that you've prepared yourself for this past year, you'll be able to rock through 2021. You'll be able to nail it. We'll be able to push through anything that's going to be coming down the chute. We'll be able to feel more love for humanity, more empathy for humanity, more compassion. We won't be in a divide. We'll stop doing the divide. You see, when we first went through 2020, we got caught up in the divide. A lot of us got caught up in the divide in the beginning. And all of a sudden we're like, why are we in this? It's just like Aaron said, right? They know how to do this. 2021, we got to step out of that divide. We can't play in the divide anymore. We don't have time. So we have to be above the divide, right? So there's going to be layers of this awakening, but we have to be above the divide, and you've got to hold yourself in these higher states, because the energies that are sort of darker, they're tricksters, they're tricky. They come in and you're like, they're like narcissistic, gaslighting type of energies, where all of a sudden you think there's something wrong with you and you did something wrong. And then you all of a sudden you're the victim, you play the victim role. If you find yourself playing the victim role, check yourself, move into your body, breathe. If you find yourself feeling fearful or scared or worried or any of that, bring yourself back into your body, breathe. And then you just choose. You just say out loud, whatever energy this is that doesn't feel like my light, get the hell away. Get out, get gone, be gone, be gone. We have that ability. And just like that, it'll be gone. And it's preparing us for what's coming. So this isn't an easy battle, so to speak, right? So we've just begun. We win, meaning that when I say win, I don't mean we win, like we get to the end result, right, of this kind of heaven on earth at some other now moment. I don't know how many years, but we get there. So it's not a matter of like, oh my God, I hope this works. But what's coming, whatever we're learning right now, whatever we're experiencing, whatever's coming at us, right? Just like Aaron says, it's a lesson. It's teaching us. And really, it's preparing us to be able to stand even firmer, even more aligned, even more sovereign in our now moments as we continue down that sort of battlefield, right? We have to continue to get more and more sovereign, more and more free, more and more aligned, more and more in our knowingness that we have free will and we have choice and we create our realities, because what's coming is way more intense than what we just went through this past year. So, and not in a bad way or a scary way, it's just gonna be more. So those entities that are coming, they're preparing you for perhaps an even larger entity where you're going to be like, dude, peace out, like, see you later, right? And you're just going to keep going. So these sites, these power spots, there's thousands of them all over the earth plane, and many that we don't know of. And they were originally designed by higher dimensional light beings and humans thousands of years ago for a time that we're going through right now. So 7,000 years ago, humanity was at a place that we are at right now, where they were about to really take that next leap up into the higher realms. And these light beings came in and assisted humanity. And And all of these sites were created, Machu Picchu, the pyramids, all of these really the site that you were at, they were all created to assist the human in elevating their consciousness. And at the exact same time, lower dimensional consciousnesses, meaning lower than those higher dimensional light beings, came in as well. And they sort of infiltrated and played in this collective field with us. And civilizations were destroyed, like large civilizations were destroyed at that time, civilizations that were increasing their frequency. Now that I'm speaking about it, it's quite scary because it's very close to timelines that we're going down right now. We're not going down those timelines. We're actually we were jumping them, thank God.
Sure.
But that's that sort of large collectives of humans that are raising their frequencies were killed. And so those bloodlines you're talking about is literally what we're clearing right now. And so when we go back to the subject of like, it's an energetic battle, it's always been an energetic battle. So higher dimensional light beings, when they came in and they saw what was happening with these other consciousnesses, it became an energetic battle. And the higher dimensional light beings were like, we're out. We're not battling. We're going to let humanity roll this thing out. And so thousands of years later, here we are. And we're doing it, and it's miraculous what we're doing. It's we're literally battling it out with these beings or these consciousnesses that are also in the human body, and we're nailing it. We're doing a freaking badass job. We're doing an amazing job. It's like we're like freaking rock stars. It's just crazy it's really insane it's just insane, and it's such a beautiful way. But back to the pyramid. You were picking up on the energies of that consciousness of what happened, and many of those are being cleared as we speak. We have an expectation of what a download looks like or what a download is supposed to be like, and sometimes a download is, dude, the energy here sucks. What is this all about? And then it's not until a couple of days later, or sometimes even weeks later, where it becomes obvious that maybe part of your role or part of what you're here to do is to tap into that and then figure out what you're supposed to do with that. Like, could you 6 months down the road, let's just say, right, you're in some other spot and you're feeling that same dark energy, right? And all of a sudden it's like, oh, I'm going to start to clear this for humanity. And then you do whatever the heck you just intuitively kind of do, light your body up, feel the light all around the spot. And then boom, you're doing work for humanity. So it starts at like in a moment where it's like, what is this download that I'm getting that I don't know is a download? It's amazing. I mean, I've met so many amazing people. I'm just like, oh my God, this is the best time to be alive. Like there's so many humans that I'm meeting where I'm like, oh my God, I love you. 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 I love you so much. I love you. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it's
totally.
It's like, you're just like, holy shit, where have you been my whole life? And we're all around the globe gathering. And when you meet them, you're like, oh, you're one of me, right? You're like, you're on the field with me. We're like doing this together. It's like, I just love it so much.
I just got chills. You're right. It's like, you're meeting another part of you. It's really weird.
It's soul family.
Soul
family. It really is. It's really what it feels like. Yeah.
Some of these people we're meeting, we don't know what past lives we've had with them or anything as far as that goes. It's really interesting.
And there's an energetic knowingness, right? It's like the three of us are sitting here and it's like, we're doing it. Yeah. You're like, I gotcha. You just have this knowingness about the other person. Because you're on the same wavelength, you're on the same frequency, you're doing the same work, you're seeing through the same lens. And the person doesn't have to look spiritual, right? That's what I'm loving more and more. It's like, oh no, it's just like normal Joe schmoes.
That happened to me in a crystal shop not that long ago. I started talking about moldavite coming from like a UFO crash, an ancient UFO crash, and the moldavite was created. It's like the glass that was created like when a meteorite hits, except this was like an energetic UFO craft that created this moldavite. It's a type of tektite. Anyway, we had a whole conversation about the Pleiadians with this random girl. All it took was that one buzzword, and she just knew. She was like, I love the Pleiadians. Like, it was really weird. I'm like, I can't believe I'm having this conversation with a random person.
Right.
If that's a sign, if that's not a sign to show where we're going, what is?
Exactly.
Mhm.
It's going to be, it's really, really, it's exciting because it's actually happening. I mean, literally every day I'm like, oh God, it's actually, I kind of am like pinching myself because it's like, wow, it's really happening. It's really happening. We're really doing this. We're really doing this. And that's why it's so important that I just feel like in all my messages, it's like, I just want, I want the human to know that they're making a difference. Like you're literally making a difference. Because it's energy and it's an energetic sort of war, right? It's really, and what we see physically is not actually what's happening, right? So it's hard to remember or recognize or know that your light and your beingness is actually dismantling the insanity that you're seeing right now unravel. It's really difficult. That's why it's so important, I think, to constantly tell the human, no, you got this. I promise, just keep going. I promise, just keep going. I promise, just keep going. Because that illusion of that puppet master type stuff that's happening, it's hard to be like, are you sure we've got this? Like, you sure we got this? Like, no,
Yeah.
we do. Do you know that okay, so I got an email that gave me like the breakdown of all the billionaires and how much money they made over the last 10 months.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Okay. Do you know that now? I don't know if this is true. I don't know where they got their sources from, but what I saw on the document was that Elon Musk was the second highest increased in billionaire. So it was Bezos, he was first, and then Elon Musk. And Elon Musk increased his income or his whatever, the wealth,
Net worth.
his net worth 480%. He gained $180 billion, something like that, right? Don't mark that. Now, here's what I want to ask you guys. What the fuck does he do where that would make any sense?
Exactly.
No, seriously, what is the Tesla man doing right now during COVID that he would increase his net worth over 400%?
He is. I mean, there's so many theories about him. He's a very mysterious public figure. Is he of the light? Is he of the dark? A lot of people say he's been compromised, and he's being used also. And if that's the case, then they're going to pay him big to play out their agenda, right? They want him to be the one to initiate it, basically. So they're going to give him the money he needs, maybe.
It's an interesting thing to start thinking about
Yeah, yeah.
because what is he doing?
Well,
Yeah.
I've heard that
Exactly.
the
What
Tesla
is he
company.
doing?
Well, we don't know what's actually. SpaceX might have. SpaceX, the rockets that we see go up might be the cover, just like NASA. They might have a SpaceX division, secret space program we don't even know about, right? Tesla, we've heard from channeled messages and other stuff. They're working on a lot of other stuff besides their electric car. Not a lot of it hasn't been approved for humanity yet.
It's
But they're
actually
working
free energy based.
free energy based
Yeah.
stuff. So what we see on the surface is just what we see on the surface. There's a lot more going on. We can only speculate, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I have the same thing with Elon. I'm like, if I were to really settle into the intuitiveness, and I'm always okay with being wrong. I'm always okay with any other truth being the truth. So I never hold anything absolute. Um, but like when I look at him and when I watch Elon, he doesn't seem human to me. He doesn't seem,
Same.
Never.
he seems frighteningly robotic.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that.
Soulless, kind of.
Soulless, and like he's an absolute clone or robot. Like I've never seen anybody more robotic
Yeah.
than that man.
He's very robotic.
Yeah, you nailed it. I mean, I definitely think if somebody said that one time, yeah, he's supposed to be the smartest person on the planet, but he's the dumbest person because he doesn't have any wisdom. Because you can know so much, but when you don't use we don't have any wisdom to back up that knowledge, then it's just knowledge, right?
Mm.
And you use it for the wrong reasons, basically.
Right.
Yeah, I think he's just like a puppet, basically. And but it's interesting because he said some things that are like, he's warned about AI, and he said some things that go against the controllers and the cabal, whatever.
Yeah.
But then he's also said and done things that are in line with that. So he's very like, it's this weird, like, you're like, you don't know what to believe about him because he's
Right.
They
seems
probably
both sides.
they probably want us guessing, honestly.
That's probably, you're right. I mean, there's probably a reason for that.
Yeah.
I mean, he did stand up to like moving out of California and taking his plants otherwhere. And I remember thinking that, and I was like, well, that's strange. Like, I just found it interesting that his growth went up more than any other billionaire in the United States, and I there's something there.
Well, he's a key player right now, whatever's happening for whatever side. He's a key player, and that's why.
Yeah, whatever they're building, designing, doing, whether it's light or dark, it's massive. And again, this is why it's so important going into 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024, that we recognize that no matter what is designed and built and created, that that our light is more potent and more powerful. And we're probably not even going to see that timeline anyway. So there's definitely not going to be an AI timeline. That's for damn sure.
No, there's not.
Yeah, that's been dissolved. So there's a lot of time. That's why it's important also. And this is like going back to the very beginning of our conversation. It's really important to stay present, because the present is where the power is. Present is where the power is. So if you start playing in like, do I need to stock up for food and water and prepare for all these things? Well, if you want to play in that timeline, go for it. Otherwise, can you stay present? Because right now, all's well. And we have to keep doing that. And we have to understand the power of that, because that's what's going to keep us pulled and moving in that trajectory of that higher timeline. It's really, the present moment is so powerful. So powerful.
The only place you can create is from the present. So
exactly.
that's the whole trick, is to keep people worried about the future, upset about the past.
That's
and never creating in the present what they want to actually create.
That's where retirement comes in. The big retirement plan. That is people worrying about the future. And it keeps people working that 40-hour job. And what does that do? It takes away their ambition to do anything in life that they want to do, because they're working for that retirement. And that's a trap. I mean, once you break free from that, your life will blossom. I mean, opportunities will come your way.
Yeah, wait till you see what's next and what's next and what's next.
Yeah, exactly.
I have nothing coming up except whatever's coming up next in the now moment that we're going to navigate. But you can find me at Lorie Ladd on YouTube, LORIELADD. And then Instagram is Lorie Ladd, Lorie_Ladd. Ditto for you guys for just continuing charging forward no matter what. And it's I think getting information and voices out there right now is one of the most important parts of this awakening. So thanks for doing it, and thanks for continuing to show up no matter what you have to go through.
Of course. There's no other option, right?
Thank you.
No other option. When you're in it, you're like,
Exactly.